is The Spotlight. I'm Kevin Perry, your host, and we want to welcome you to another exciting show where we turn the spotlight on the arts. But before we get started, I want to invite all of you to go see the fantastic bands as they perform at all of our wonderful football games every Friday night, either at the Lawnwood Stadium, Port St. Lucie High School Stadium, or the South County Stadium. In addition to that, in its annual parade of bands, the Vero Beach High School is hosting the Crown Jewel Marching Festival on October 15th. We would love to see you there as our bands take the field in competition. But as we turn the spotlight on the arts today, we're actually focusing on the visual arts and the preparation that it takes for our teachers to be prepared each and every day with the modern techniques and strategies for our students as they deliver the best instruction possible. Yes, even in the arts with those dedicated, proven research-based strategies. And I have three fantastic guests with me today that's going to enlighten us and tell us about the wonderful things that's happening in the visual arts and professional development here in St. Lucie Public Schools. To my wonderful panel, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Now, Jane, you've been here a while, and Kerry, everybody sees you on your own show, the Eye on St. Lucie. But just in case there's somebody that's not familiar with the many programs in St. Lucie County and they're new to seeing you on the show, would you introduce yourself briefly and tell us what your role is in St. Lucie County?
Sure. My name is Jane Whitaker, and I'm currently the curriculum coordinator in the curriculum department with the Office of Teaching and Learning, and also a support for fine arts, as I work very closely with you and being able to provide that support with our fine arts teachers and physical education as well.
Now, when you say support for our fine arts teachers, tell us exactly what that means, Jane.
Well, that gives me the opportunity to provide some professional development that supports the classroom teachers along with our fine arts and physical education teachers. So working very collaboratively with them, what does planning look like? What does our instruction look like as fine arts teachers supporting what's going on in the traditional classroom? So I get a chance to work very closely, mentoring and going in the classrooms, working with teachers, and again, working with you and providing those additional supports and resources that we get a chance to give them.
Now, just for our viewing audience, tell them about your past life that connects you to the arts as well.
Well, I was a music teacher, an elementary music teacher for 17 years, and that was something that is near and dear to my heart. Still, you know, even though you're out of the classroom, you're always an educator. So being a music teacher was a great opportunity. I can't say enough about what it does for our students and that connection with student achievement and music and participation in the arts, not just music, but
Correct.
Overall in the arts.
Correct.
So very glad to be a part of that.
Glad to have you on the show.
Thanks.
Now, Mr. Ferguson, welcome to the Spotlight.
Thank you. Welcome for having me.
Tell our viewing audience about your role in St. Lucie County.
Unlike my cohorts here, I am not an educator. I am the Executive Director of Legal Services for the St. Lucie County School District, which means I'm the in-house attorney for the district. I answer all of the legal questions that come up on a daily basis. But I also have a personal passion for the arts. I think arts are important. I think it's important that we all support the arts in ways that we can. And occasionally I'll get a legal question about copyright, which has to do with arts.
That's us. That's us.
So I get to play with that a little bit.
And Ms. Padrick, welcome to the Spotlight.
Well, thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Tell our viewing audience a little bit about your background and what it is that you do in St. Lucie as well.
Well, I have definitely had a wonderful experience in St. Lucie. I've had 27 years to serve as an educator in St. Lucie Public Schools. I've been a teacher, principal, and most recently I serve as the district communications liaison for internal and external communications. And it's great to be able to work with you to create opportunities to partner with our community to keep the arts alive in our area, because it is such a valuable tool for our students to be able to express themselves in multiple ways and share their expertise with our community at large.
And for our viewing audience, even though we call it a Chief Communication Officer, it's really the PIO. Public information. If anybody's going to be on camera, it's going to be Kerry Padrick, right? Or the superintendent.
Sure.
Again, to all of you, again, welcome to the Spotlight. And I'm glad you're here to help us spotlight what's happening here in the arts and in professional development. Speaking of which, Jane Whitaker, as we begin each and every year, we actually start with the major kind of professional development that kind of trickles out throughout the rest of the year for all of our teachers. But our role specifically is that dealing with visual and performing arts as well as PE teachers. Would you kind of tell our viewing audience a little bit about what happened with the arts this year?
Well, it's a great opportunity when we have the chance to bring what we often call our singletons. We have teachers that they may be the only one teaching that particular subject area or content area at their school site. And when we're able to bring all of those people together in one place, it's a great time of collaborating, being able to just share ideas and new directions that teachers are wanting to go, and to be able to integrate that within their own classroom. So this year we had the opportunity to bring all of our visual arts, music, band, our dance, drama, and physical education teachers, along with our HOPE teachers. Those are also PE teachers, but with more of a health focus. So we were able to bring all of those teachers together. We had almost 200 teachers together in one place at Lincoln Park for a day of collaboration. What was really nice this year is we took that technology piece, and we know we're moving into that 21st century, working with those type of students that are very technology savvy, and really needing to power up our initiatives in the classroom to really meet the needs and interests of our kids that are living in this computer age. So we had the opportunity to bring everybody together and share some really innovative ideas dealing with incorporating technology within the classroom, what that looks like in the arts classroom, what that looks like in the music classroom, what that looks like in the band room. You know, there are multiple ways for us to really incorporate those into every aspect, and also include that cross-curricular piece that goes along with what we do in our classrooms as well. We know PE has math, has science, health. There's so many components that bring in that cross-curricular piece. Art, again, you've got the science element. You've got music that has history, and really bringing all of those pieces together. So we were able to do that in a day of professional development, and being able to do that, I think, really sparks your year off to be really excited about new things and providing engagement opportunities even more so in our classrooms.
It was also the springboard for something that we're going to speak about with Ms. Padrick in just a minute. But to each of you, tell me, because we're all in education, why do you think, and anyone can jump in, why do you think it's important to encourage students to participate in one or more areas of the arts?
Do you want me? I'll start, I guess. I think the biggest thing is we notice that when students are participating in the arts, you can see that level of engagement, and I think it really supports that attendance piece. We know that a lot of times when students are involved in sports or into something that really interests them, that piece of wanting to be at school, wanting to learn more, I think is a huge part of that. I think it supports our student achievement, self-confidence. I mean, I think there's so many different avenues that you could really go with that.
And it also gives our students an opportunity to broaden their horizons and shine in areas that are outside of what is a traditional academic experience, because our children are multi-talented in so many ways. So we need to provide them many, many opportunities to showcase the talents that they have and be recognized for what it is that they bring to the table.
Okay.
I would echo those thoughts, but I think it's just being exposed to a broad range of areas, and arts is one of those. Arts is in everything that we do on a daily basis.
Oh, good one, Johnathan, good one.
And I think it blends into that. Even if you don't have any talents like myself, you can appreciate the arts, and you can pull different things from the arts in your daily life.
Speaking of your appreciation for the arts, there's a fantastic program that you introduced to St. Lucie Public Schools, and it deals with diversity and everything. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. There's this wonderful organization in Sarasota, Florida called Embracing Our Differences. And about 14 years ago, a group of folks there got together and said, what can we do to help promote diversity, cultural diversity, social diversity within our community, within the Sarasota area? And they came up with this idea of sponsoring an art contest that was opened internationally to the world. All age groups, anyone in the world can participate. And they asked for an art piece that expressed diversity. What they then did, and they got thousands of entrants, they picked the top 39 and they created these very large banners. They are 12 feet tall by 16 feet wide. What they also did as a companion piece to the art part of it is they solicited quotations that had to do with diversity and acceptance. And then they would pair the quotation with the art piece and they would put it on these very large banners. They had this wonderful downtown waterfront park in Sarasota, and they displayed these banners, all 39 of them, on these huge metal frames. And then for the months of April and May, what they did is they raised money to provide free transportation to any teacher who wanted to go to the park and show their kids. They also then developed age-appropriate curriculum in the area of diversity and cultural differences, so that the teachers could bring their kids there and have a lesson on site looking at all the banners. Last year was their 14th year. They had over 20,000 kids participate in the program. It's a wonderful program. I have family in the Sarasota area, and I was dragged down to the park by my mother, who's a retired teacher, and she said, oh, you have to come see this. You have to come see this. I said, oh, okay, Mom. You know, the dutiful son. I was blown away. I thought, this is wonderful. How can we bring that back to St. Lucie County? Mm-hmm. So I approached the organization and said, what do you do with these banners after the 2 months that they're up? And they said, well, we usually just sort of store them away, or we dispose of them. I said, can we have some? And they said, absolutely. So we got 7 banners the first year, and we put them up all at our high schools. And we've been now doing this for 3 years, and they've been wonderful partners in sharing their message and the artwork. And we've been trying to encourage our art teachers and our students, staff, to participate, to submit entrants, that hopefully one day maybe someone from St. Lucie County can have their banner.
Talk about some of those banners that we're going to see.
Sure. One of my favorite, and I think it embraces the spirit of what they're trying to do, and it was one of the first ones that we got, and we put it up at Fort Pierce Central High School. The title of it is Hold Back Hate, and you can see that it is sort of shadow figures that are holding back phrases which typically we associate with negative comments. Things like idiot, or you're so gay, or things that are said with unthinking by folks, but then can have negative connotations. The artwork was created by a 10th grade student. The quote that accompanies it I really like. It was created by a 6th grade student. The quote, and you can't quite probably see it on the graphic, but it said, although words are merely sound waves, they can hurt more than any solid object. And that is the message that this group is trying to convey, is think about your words, think about what you're doing. But what I think is important for the arts is that a simple graphic can have a very broad message and can be taken in many ways and explored in great depth. One other one, which ties into music, which is another one of my favorites, it was at St. Lucie West Centennial High School, and it's called A Duet is Often Better Than a Solo. And it was created by an 8th grade student who I think has incredible talent, artistic talent, and it shows the guitar and the violin together having a picnic, in essence.
Wow.
And the fact that you can blend music and you can blend different areas together, and together you can be greater than the parts. The quote that goes with that says, don't judge my choices without understanding my reasons.
Wow.
And again, these are very powerful messages conveyed through art.
Okay. Ms. Padrick, there are a lot of programs that we're working on together for St. Lucie Public Schools. Let's start off by introducing our audience to the Kids Tag Art program that's going on?
Why, certainly. So the Kids Tag Art program is a collaboration between St. Lucie Public Schools and our tax collector's office. It is designed to focus on our 5th grade students, it's a wonderful opportunity for students in 5th grade to not only express themselves in art, but to learn a little bit about how art has an economic opportunity as well, because this is actually a fundraiser to help generate funds for our art teachers to continue to help keep art alive in St. Lucie. In addition, it's a positive effort to bring attention to and awareness to our tax collector and the website that they have. So it is a win-win for both parties, and that's really how collaboration works. We find something that we can do together and support our students, support our community, and move forward together. And this is something that our students are currently involved in with their teachers. There is information on our homepage about that. We'll continue working with our tax collector's office to share this information with parents so that they know what is in store for them as far as opportunities to purchase their students' art and display it either on their car or keep it as a memento for their future recollections.
Let's talk about the second major art project that's going on with our students. It was actually rolled out during our professional development that Jane Whitaker helped us with, and we're working with the city of Port St. Lucie, but also now the city of Fort Pierce. Tell us about the utility boxes, and maybe we'll do some B-roll on these utility boxes while you're speaking.
Certainly, that would be fantastic. And this is just an example of when a seed is planted and how things can grow based on a synergy of ideas coming together. Because Dr. Perry, when you and I were at the table talking with some of our partners about this,
yes,
the ideas were just blooming, and it was such a good time thinking about what we could do. And everything that we talked about really has come to fruition and more, because this idea came about from just a conversation that was held outside of our school building. As, is it possible? And certainly when things are promoted that way, we jump right on it and say, well, let's get all parties together and plan. So we came together with our partners at the City of Port St. Lucie, and the idea was, can our students design art that can be presented to the public based on the utility boxes or the traffic light cabinets that we have in our community?
Right.
Well, right now they're just steel boxes that aren't very pleasant to the eye. So let's put our students' artwork on them and beautify our community. Certainly we can do that, and that's what we are currently in the process of doing with 12 boxes in Port St. Lucie. Fort Pierce Utilities Authority is also working with us to do a similar project in Fort Pierce. So we have this spread out throughout the entire community. As that idea took shape, it was being planned just at the onset of our 9/11 commemoration. And so the idea came, can our students and our teachers work together to create a 9/11 tribute? Well, certainly, when something is put on the table, we will make it happen. And our students came forth with their understanding of what that event meant, and they produced a very, very moving tribute to 9/11 that was part of the 9/11 commemorative event down at the Port St. Lucie Civic Center. And if I may, I would like to read the understanding of that from one of our student artists, because it was a triage of artists that came together with their ideas for this one box. And that's part of art, is understanding the history of something and putting the images together. And one of our students who was responsible for 2 of the sides, this is her rendition or her understanding of what her painting represented. She says, 9/11 to me is a day of great despair and of unity. In my painting, I wanted to depict the deep sorrow that civilians, first responders, and people everywhere felt. This included the infamous dust clouds that swept through the city as the buildings collapsed. But in the light of all things, I put a sunrise behind the scene and the light beams from where the Twin Towers stood. The first responders and angel in the cloud formation act as guardians of the city. This was to symbolize the hope and unity that arose from the act of terrorism in all Americans that day. The towers are in almost a heavenly blue to give the feeling of peace and remembrance of all the lives lost that day. So our students, even though they were kindergartners at the time this occurred, they do understand the history. They do have an understanding of what it means, and they do know that this is part of our history and they need to carry it forward so that we don't have the repeat of that in the future. We need to do what we can to not let that happen again in our history, in our future.
And that 911 box is actually on display at the Port St. Lucie Civic Center.
Yes.
But it will be moving to the school board office at the 1st of October, and we will have a special recognition with those students and their teachers and principal. A beautiful box, and then you'll see boxes going up all across Fort Pierce and Port St. Lucie High School, Port St. Lucie, that were designed by our students. But when we talk about, when we think about everything that we've spoken about, the embracing our differences and those banners for cultural differences and the 911 tribute, the tag art, we know that this is all being done in our schools. Jane, talk to us a little bit about what research says about the importance of the arts, or lessons that the arts teach our students.
Well, I was actually, during my master's program, I had an opportunity to do a huge research project on that very thing. What is the correlation between students participating in the arts and student achievement? What does that look like? And according to many of the research studies that I had a chance to look at and go in a little deeper, they were talking very strongly about the academic achievement and student participation in the arts. They were making those correlations between higher levels of students being able to be a little bit more successful on those standardized testing, making those correlations between participation in the arts and those scores. There are so many different avenues that you could really look at, and looking at the real, you can't say that that's an absolute cause, but there definitely is a correlation between that. And as we look at the student achievement, we see a lot of our leaders being musicians, being artists, being, Johnathan talked about building the whole child, and I think that's what the arts kind of brings every piece together. You heard that amazing writing that she wrote, and before you shared that, I was thinking, oh gosh, I wish I would have brought that with me, and I'm so glad you did, because that just shows you the depth and thinking of our kids here in St. Lucie County, not just our arts kids. You don't have to have that, but you definitely see the correlation between that research and what we're seeing even here in St. Lucie County with the strength of the academic achievement of our kids.
Johnathan, you're talking about embracing our differences, and if you would hold that book up so that we can capture a shot of that, because our students will be participating in this activity as well. But it's all about diversity. Why is diversity important in the world that we live in, and also why do we celebrate it through the arts, in your opinion?
Well, because the arts can provide in a single image a very powerful message. And we live in a global environment. It is important that the kids understand that there is differences out there among cultures, beliefs, and that's okay. And that it doesn't lessen their beliefs or how they're raised, but having that fuller understanding will allow for more tolerance and hopefully less strife. And the arts can bring that out. Arts are, again, in everything that we do on a daily basis. And it's amazing how an artist like Kerry pointed out can capture so many concepts in just a relatively simple design that can reach people on multiple levels. And I think teaching kids that that's out there, and exposing them to it. They may not all like the particular art. They may have various feelings on whether it's good or bad, but that exposure is so important, both at the school level and at home with among your family. Being exposed to it is
And just as you were
important.
talking, I was just thinking, it's a universal language, the fine arts really is. And if no matter what language you speak or where you come from, that verbal and nonverbal, through music, through visual arts, brings us all together. You don't have to say anything, it really speaks for itself.
It helps us make good judgments,
Right.
celebrate multiple perspectives, provides us collaboration and teamwork, those things that we're involved in every day in the jobs that we do. As we wind down, I just feel that there's a passion for everyone in some form of the arts, either it's participating in the arts, making art, or just being a connoisseur of the arts. Because we're all educators, briefly tell me, what would you say to a parent to entice them to ensure that their child participated in one or more areas of the arts? What would you say to a parent? Jump in.
Kerry, you want to go first?
Well, I'm going to partially answer your question,
Okay.
Dr. Perry, because in my mind, I'm thinking about some of the things that Johnathan just said and what Jane said earlier. And she was talking about, even though we're not in the classroom, we have that educator spirit that still stays within us. And it is about the children that we have interacted with over the years and the relationships that we have developed, and looking for that individual spark within each and every one of them, whether it be to help encourage them to develop their artistic talent, or to develop an academic talent that they have, or to pursue a goal in a college or a career of their choice. And I think that that's what's so important, that the parent needs to continue to support and spur their child to develop that interest that they have. Just this week, 2 students have returned a call who have achieved some goals that were very important to them. One young man just passed the bar this week and gave me a telephone call to celebrate that fact. And last night I was working late and got a telephone call that just lit up my evening. She just got confirmation that she has finished all of her coursework to receive her master's degree in psychology, and is beside herself with that, and called to tell me first that that had been accomplished. And she has been someone who has kept me in touch every step of the way. As a student of mine at Fort Pierce Central High School, and I'm so thankful that we are able to stay in touch with our students. And so I think that's very, very important.
Jane, take 5 seconds and answer this question. Thinking about everything that we've spoken about today, and the importance of the arts and diversity and that kind of thing, what do you know for sure? Briefly, 5 seconds.
What do I know for sure? I know for sure that a quality education and can make a difference in every child's life, and if in whatever avenue that we can support them, we're here to be sure that we provide that to every student.
Okay, Johnathan, I'm going to give you 5 seconds to finish this phrase, okay? Knowing what you know as an attorney, but working in the educational setting and understanding and appreciating the arts, I believe
that the arts are important to develop a well-rounded person so that they can operate in society in a reasonable and rational manner.
Jane Whitaker, Johnathan Ferguson, Kerry Padrick, thank you for sharing with us here on The Spotlight, where we turn the spotlight on the arts. We want to thank this fantastic crew here that runs everything, all the production for The Spotlight, and we'll see you next time here on The Spotlight.